Hello, I'm Geoff.
Hello, I'm Patrick, and welcome. Happy New Year, folks. Happy New Year, Geoff.
Happy New Year to you as well, Pat.
Did you have a good festive season?
Yes, it was relatively quiet. Went back to Liverpool, but it hiked it down the entire time I was
rained.
there.
I saw videos of Manchester, from Byron actually, of trees just.
Yeah. Manchester had a really bad time of it. Yeah, and
the weather was bad.
hey, some of our family are based in Manchester, and they were struggling to get about a bit as well. They were having a right old time of it. Yeah,
Here we go. Well, along with bad weather,
Yes.
I've asked our wonderful Patreon community what they would like to remain in 2023 when it comes to the hobby.
Well, hopefully the main answer is us.
We're not allowed to be in 2024.
Yeah, you had your year, you had a good run at it. See ya.
Yeah. So I made a post called "Get in the Sea," and we've done
Get in the sea or get in some flooded parts of Manchester.
Yes. Yeah. Poor old Manchester. I hope they're doing okay. So I asked people to tell me some of their least favourite bits of the hobby that they just wish would either get thrown in the sea or remain in the past. And I thought we could discuss them.
I think we can. I think we're men of enough calibre for that.
Yeah. And we've got one from Ricky, who starts off with controversial.
Oh, go on. Strap myself in.
I know, yeah. Controversial, but Warhammer Fantasy / the Old World. There's a reason why it got put down, and all the old players still have their old armies and rules. Nothing stopped them playing it.
Ooh. He makes a good point.
Yeah.
He especially makes a good point because the main thing, if you said what shows that this is only a partially good idea, is that it's not a complete range refresh.
No.
If anything to me feels almost like the people making it haven't got the confidence in it, is the fact that they're not ploughing the money into making a brand new range.
Yeah.
There's some new stuff. Everything's got new stuff, but there's a lot of stuff in there that's getting on.
So there's got to be a rules refresh, I would imagine.
Yeah, I would assume there is. Yeah.
I know the boxes have gone up for pre-order.
Yes, I've seen them. Yeah.
At the time of recording, a couple of days ago, Saturday.
Yes.
I'm not sure. It's an interesting one. I can understand their point of view. I guess the other point of view is it was a well-loved game by, I guess, quite a lot of people. Not as many as 40k, one would imagine. And if that is someone's favourite game, great for them that there's new miniatures.
Yeah.
I like people to be happy.
Well, don't get me wrong. I think the idea that you are bringing back... Yeah, let's do away with the word back for a minute. That you're bringing in rank and file infantry, cavalry, gaming.
Yeah.
Which is something that Games Workshop's not had for quite a while.
Yeah.
But it's not... It's not something I've heard anybody massively screaming for. And I think all of the people who were sad about Warhammer Fantasy going have had quite a long time to vent their spleen now. And I would imagine they've vented it and packed in, or they vented it, and as you said, as Ricky has said, carried on playing with what they already had. There's still some people out there who still love 3rd edition 40k and still play that, you know.
Yeah.
I think if I felt like the launch of it was bringing massively new units that hadn't previously existed, then I could, and it may do because this is early days, but if it gone bang, Bretonnia boxes, all brand new things, new units that have never existed before, you go, this is rebuilding from the ground up something that has existed before, but it's going at it from scratch straight the way up.
Yeah.
In the same way of Legion Imperialis. It's existed before, They made little rhinos before. They've made little marines before. But this is all brand new.
Yeah.
Whether it stand the test of time, I don't know. But so it's interesting to think, well, you're rehashing and repackaging things. So I think Ricky might be right. I'm really fascinated to see how well it does.
And we'll get to know like quite soon.
Yeah, I think we will.
Yeah. I'm not excited for it. I'm not going to buy any of the kits. I'm not going to play it.
Well, I said to my mate Tim, he was a bit like, ooh, but especially because the thing is with...
Hey, Tim.
Especially because the fact with Tim, Bretonians were one of the armies he played and he still got a lot of it.
Yeah.
And he said to me, what do you think about it? And I said to him, if you've got enough for good guys, bad guys, I will play it with you.
Yeah.
But I said, but I'm not sticking my hand in my pocket for any of it.
No.
And I get the impression from sort of Tim's opinion on it, he's not sticking his hand in his pocket for any of it either because he's got most of it.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So before we move on to something else, Warhammer Old World, get in the sea?
Yes, I don't think it's going to work. I don't think it'll survive.
Yeah, yeah. I say keep it out the sea. For those people that are happy, let them be happy. Congratulations to them.
Yeah, you know, if it's your bag, as I say with anything on this show, if it's your bag and you're happy, I'm pleased for you. But I'm saying get in the sea or based on the grounds, I don't think it's going to be successful. Not that I have any dislike for it.
Yeah.
But if you aren't producing a brand new range for everything, it doesn't strike me as a great deal of confidence in your own product.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I would say for that.
Perfect. There we go. Love it. We have another one. Brittle 3D printer resin. I 3D print a lot. And after I had a printed mini shatter the night before I left for a tournament in another country after a dice fell onto it from 5 centimeters high. Oh, I feel bad for laughing, but that's really bad. I finally ordered a flexible resin and haven't had a mini break since.
Well, you're more the man for this than me because I haven't printed anything out and I haven't really used much in the way of resin.
Yeah.
But you have.
I have started 3D printing and shout out to Ross from Fohammer because I'm using his Wargamer resin, which is sort of formulated to be like as miniature gamers and all that sort of stuff. We're used to Games Workshop plastic.
Yeah.
And the resin looks and behaves in a like obviously it's a little bit different, but it is quite hard. But they seem to have got a really good, like it's firm, it's easy to clean up because I think flexible stuff.
Yeah,
your knife kind of like skitters all over the place.
Yeah.
So the jump from plastic to Wargamer resin has been really nice and really straightforward. But the miniatures are actually quite, like it's robust resin as well, so it's not super brittle. So I really like that resin. I think maybe that's kind of like as I say, with all of the confidence of a very inexperienced 3D printer person, that, yeah, like flexible resin, it's probably pretty good, for posting stuff. Super brittle stuff, like, yeah, that can absolutely get in the sea. Yeah. I think it's just very unpleasant to work with.
I've got resin parts that came from Archie's Forge.
Yep. Love Archie's Forge.
Archie's Forge is great. I've got a replacement Space Marine banner, which replaces the one that came in the banner bearer from Dark Imperium, but the banner is pretty much identical, but it's all embossed with Black Templar iconography.
Oh, lovely.
And if you handed me it sprayed,
yep,
I wouldn't be able to tell you the difference.
No.
Between that and the original one, it's maybe fractionally the weight, but other than that, and that's really good. And that's obviously been 3D printed resin. There's not a mark on it, but my, I've only, unlike you, I've only had that as the end consumer. I haven't been involved in creation, but that's been pretty good. And the shoulder pads have been nice and stuff. So what I've come into contact with, which I've used on my own, I generally think's been pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we're both in agreement. Yeah. Brittle 3D printer resin. in the sea. Well, no, it's bad for the environment. In the bin.
In the bin.
In the bin.
In a resin appropriate bin.
Yeah. Yes, in the special resin bin.
Yes.
Yes, that doesn't seep into the watercourse.
Yeah.
So Richard asks, whatever it is that makes my build/paint pile keep growing, not being able to paint all the cool new stuff that you want, not being able to paint all the cool new bracket models probably that you want to, and shouldn't feel like failing.
So what is getting in the sea? Is his wallet getting in the sea, or is lack of time getting in the sea, or is self-loathing for not being able to get everything done getting in the sea? If it's your self-loathing, that can get in the sea.
Absolutely get in the sea. You
Absolutely
buy
right.
and you paint what you want.
Yes.
And I guess this is, if it relates to, well, Games Workshop, miniatures, I mean, crikey, you see the list of miniature of the year at Workshop, just how long it is.
I know, it's madness.
And they all came out, and everything, as is the way, every week, every 2 weeks, it's here's the cool new thing, and you're like, oh, I'll buy that. And the FOMO marketing and all that sort of stuff.
It's tough, isn't it? Because you want to say, you don't have to run out and buy it. You don't have to go and get it the minute it's out. Get to it when you get to it. But, directly behind you is Soul Shackle. How long ago did that come out? And you're still trying to get your hands on Arbites now is ridiculously difficult. Sometimes I think of rushing out and getting it when it's readily available. Well, when it's available at the beginning. I can understand why people do it because at the moment, Games Workshop, bless them, their stock control isn't working very well. So, but ultimately, if you're buying the brand new thing and then you just stick it on the shelf, and you know it's going to be a year before you get round to it, just don't buy it.
Yeah, I've absolutely fallen foul to this, being like, oh, the cool new thing, can't wait to paint that. Goes on the shelf, forget about it, and there's stuff I bought 2 years ago that I haven't even opened.
And then the next thing you know, the next cool new thing is going sitting on top of that one, still unpainted.
Yeah.
So
I think lots of things can get in the sea. I think being I think have some goals. I think if you don't necessarily have a goal in mind, like if I'm like, oh, I'm going to paint an orc army and that is my goal. Like I'm painting Custodes at the moment. Should have gone with that. I'm painting a Custodes army and that is my goal.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in buying anything else because I don't want to until that's done. And then I'm going to move on to some orcs.
So what can get in the
Marines.
sea is self-loathing and FOMO.
Yes.
They can join hands and run in
Get
together.
in the sea. Which coast?
Which is the one I'd least...
The North
that top
Sea.
one off the north,
Yeah,
on top of Scotland,
yeah.
they can get in the coast there.
Yeah, all the self-loathing
Get in the sea from that one.
Yeah, they can pick that up on the oil rigs.
Yeah. Because that's what you want on an oil rig.
Oh.
3 months and then suddenly you've accidentally fished up a load of self-loathing. And fear of missing out.
Oh,
As
yeah.
you look at the shore.
Yeah.
Miles away.
Just think about if you've worked there long enough. Are they in international waters? No, they'd have to be
No, I think up there they're in Scottish waters.
Yeah, in Scottish waters. So you couldn't be, because I know if you work at sea for a certain amount of time of the year, you don't pay tax. But then if they're still working in Scotland, then I guess
they probably will take tax,
But it's well paid. Yeah, I saw a TikTok of like rope access guys underneath an oil rig and all the waves coming up, and one guy in like full scuba kit, like welding, and then he's underwater and then he's not, and it's like, that's a job.
I've got a customer who literally as we speak this, is his name pinged up on my phone because he's booked in for a haircut, and he works on oil rigs, but he works out in Africa.
Oh wow!
And he does 6 weeks on, 6 weeks off.
Yeah.
But some of that he does he's at the actual core bit of literally drilling the hole and following the surveys over where they're going to put it and stuff. It's a really tells me about it. I understand about 50% of what he tells me, but the bit of it that he does that I do understand is really fascinating. Yeah, big old job.
Interesting. Very good. Okay. Wonderful. We've put quite a lot in the sea on that one. The Way 40K has become a totally meta game where it's all about having the best army. Play for fun, in all caps. 40k can get in the sea.
Oh.
AOS, TOW are much more relaxed.
No, I can't put 40k in the sea.
And you still can play 40k for fun.
Of course you can.
Yeah.
You just...
The tournament setting is perhaps more competitive.
The thing is, all of them things that shift and the meta changes and everything be based on tournament play, you can completely, utterly ignore that. And, if you want to play motorbikes and they're not very good, but you enjoy the idea of motorbikes screaming across the board at your mate's army, then you play what you want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I know it sounds ridiculous, but if you think of the high-end video games that are the ones that most get the best trophies or the most money that are paid at esports, they don't have a huge bearing on what people decide to play at home. You know what I mean? You don't go, well, I really want to play this cool little one-player adventure game that's got no online because COD makes all the money, or this makes all the money, or Star
League of Legends,
or whatever it is. It makes all the money. You play what you want, don't you?
Yeah.
You don't, because there's people out there killing it in the esports world, it doesn't have a direct bearing on what you choose to play at home. So 40k really shouldn't.
No.
I know it does, and I understand that things do shift based around the rules of the tournament bleed into the rules of the kitchen table. I get that. But you can ignore that if you want to.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I think 40, I don't think 40k has to get in the sea. At the risk of sounding like an old school beauty pageant winner, like, what would you like to see? Yeah. World peace between tournament players and non-tournament players. So what I think is, in the comments I've seen and like with guests that we've had on, some people love tournaments, some people loathe them.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe like I haven't been playing 40k through previous editions. I don't know the development of it and how the rules have affected it, how it's played and that kind of stuff. I don't know if tournaments are ruining 40k.
Like I say, you can ignore it. You can ignore it. If you want to, you ignore it. And I think at the end, what has a big bearing on it is you play across your kitchen table with your mate. At the end of it, no one gets handed a trophy.
They do in my kitchen.
Just loads of trophies sitting waiting. No one gets handed a trophy. You just go, good game, shake hands. And you go, I might have got minced, but that bit where their motorbikes came up on your flank and hammered your load of Tyranids, that was a cool little moment for me that worked really well. The rest of the game didn't go so well. I think if you break 40k down into moments as opposed to just a whole thing, I don't think it needs to get in the sea. But I do think the marrying of the fun and the tournament should be allowed to live separately. Yeah. So no, not in the sea for me.
Okay. Yeah. I'm inclined to agree. I think 40k doesn't need to get in the sea.
No.
Cornish Moose, quality name, says, I would like 40k meme culture to get in the bin. But no, really, so many misconceptions about 40k lore come from inaccurate memes. Also, the near constant putting down of the Xenos factions due to this meme culture contributes to their lesser popularity. The same people you see moaning about the Imperial bias and wishing there was more variety will be calling Eldar players knife ears and Tau players fish heads. Sure, 90% of it is meant as harmless fun, but the other 10% take it too far. So yeah, get those meme edgelords in the sea.
I can appreciate that, because I tell you what, it must have got pretty tiring for all of those years. I know it's got a little bit better for them now. If you're a Dark Angels player, oh, you're a heretic. Oh, you're a chaos.
Yeah.
I know everyone makes it. I get it, but yeah, I'm on a 40k page on Facebook that seems to be utterly obsessed with large-breasted female Eldar.
Yes.
And it's just turned, and it's
It's
going,
a thing.
I don't mind memes to some degree, but it's just like got into like the point of just becoming like, maybe it's me. Maybe I should get rid of the site because thinking I'm not 14, and it's just like I can every now and again, and it's it's a site that's mainly people putting up cool photographs of 40K models and rules questions and all the rest of it. But I am getting meme fatigue.
Yeah.
I really am.
Because I know, like the Deathcore Krieg with the shovel, that was a meme for a very long time.
Oh yeah.
And I personally think memes are great. I think generally you can tell how healthy a community is by the volume of memes. It means like it has a passionate fan base. People want to create things about it. And something I think I've talked a little bit about before is like F1. Yeah. Like I follow it like off and on, but when it all used to be on Sky, when Bernie Ecclestone was running it, he hated social media. None of the teams had social media, which meant there weren't any there were some YouTube channels about it, but not very many. And it was all very much like you're either inside the paddock or you're not.
Yeah.
Whereas then they got bought out by an American media company and they put the highlights on YouTube. So I'm like, amazing. I've never bought Sky. And I don't think I ever will, but it's there, it's on YouTube. And then the teams can have some personalities and the memes that have come from it and the Netflix documentary and Gunther Steiner, I've got a t-shirt where he's like, you do not smash my door. And it's amazing. It's brilliant. So I think memes about Warhammer, fantastic. I think there will always be, regardless of where it is, there'll always be inhumanity, that 5%, 10%, 2%, however much it is, that will take it too far. Warhammer's quite like a niche sort of thing already. And I know people have really sort of got on to that, is it Yvraine, the Eldar lady who saved Gilliman? Yeah. And them being a thing.
Sexual couple, yeah.
Yeah. And, there was a meme about, angry Marines, I think, and they did a load of stuff to some Tau, and that was weird. So, does it get taken too far? Yes.
I think why it gets taken too far, or why people take it badly, and I'm not the most thick-skinned person in the world, so I do get this to some degree. And it is a little bit of going, well, just ignore it. But I think the problem is, to some degree, is a lot of people spend a lot of time and effort painting their army up and turning up.
Yes.
And if we go back to tournaments for a moment, honing that list for a tournament and turning up, and they've got this beautiful Tau army. They've spent loads of it. Fish heads. You go.
Yes.
And it's a little bit, and because unlike, in loads of there's probably loads of Marvel memes, and and if you really like Captain America, and then there's loads of these memes about him. But at the end of the day, you're not the person drawing the comic and writing the story. You buy it, you consume it, you read it. That's your favorite. I don't think memes probably hit you as hard. As if you've been sitting there. I think creating a thing.
Yeah. I think meme culture and I like. What I don't like is when. Like say, I've seen it in the Discord a bit where somebody will go, like you say, I spent ages painting this crisis suit, and someone will say, oh, I would have liked that, but it's Tau.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, they put loads of time into that, and that's like a real thing that someone's worked really hard on. And then you've gone, lol, fish heads. Yeah. I think that can get in the sea.
Yes.
But I think memes are wonderful.
Memeing too far can get in the sea, I think.
Yes. Very good. Yeah, I like it. Havoc photography. The desire/race to paint everything as fast as possible. I get that not everyone wants to paint and wants results fast, but sometimes it feels like so many creators are just in a race. That can all get in the sea, so to speak.
It's an interesting one, this, I think. Because we are a channel that has produced lots of speed painting videos.
Yeah.
But I think we don't come from the point of view of getting a whole army painted for the sake of having your whole army painted. I think it's much more from us trying to sort of suggest getting enough done to get onto a tabletop or and enjoy it. I think it's always about the enjoyment, getting it painted to get the enjoyment of the game for both you and your opponent. But I'm not a fast painter, and I've tried in 2023. I failed miserably of saying I'm going to batch paint. I'm going to learn to stop and go, that pouch is brown. There is 10 guys with them pouches. No one is going to look to see whether the leather's chipped. And I've tried that, and I've failed miserably because I fall down a rabbit hole of overpainting a Marine who's going to be 1 of 10. That may well, you may never even notice. You barely notice what gun he's got. And I'm terrible for it. So I think you paint at your own speed. And also as well, it's not for most of us, it's not a job. It's your hobby. And you paint at the speed that brings you fun.
Yes.
If you desperately want to get a combat patrol done because you want to play it against your mate and you both have made a pact that it's going to only play when it's done, or a kill team or a war band or whatever it may be, then great, we've got loads of videos to do all of that. That's great, and get on, do that. But at the end of the day, this isn't being, you're not doing this at gunpoint. It's got to be your own enjoyment is absolute paramount first, isn't it? Yeah,
absolutely, yeah. And it's something I've seen on comments on, some of Peachy's painting videos, that this obsession with trying to paint quickly and this, that, and the other. And to sort of agree with Mr. Havoc, to a certain extent, is, from a video standpoint, you want your video, you see your thumbnail in a sea of other thumbnails, what's going to get people to click on that one? And time is like a click factor. And that's kind of like the catch, the hook to get you to click on the video. Whereas hopefully, you could watch it and there's techniques in there that you can pull out from it and so on and so forth. But yeah, I keep going back. I mean, we talk about him a lot, Henry from Cult of Paint, and on one of his Black Templar videos, he's like, these don't look how I want them to. I'm just going to have to spend more time on them to get them where I want. And I think that's kind of where I'm at.
Well, I think it's this obsession
at
with
the minute,
consuming everything as fast as you can. Wouldn't it be amazing if there was a YouTube channel out there that went, I'm painting this Marine in real time and I'm really slow, and it was a 12-hour video.
That'd be so good. I mean,
how to paint a blood angel really slowly.
Yes.
12 hours of it. You know what I mean?
And
I've been watching for an hour now. He's only done one eye lens.
Yeah, and I wouldn't watch it.
No,
I'd click on it and skip through and see, 5 hours, where's he at? Oh, he's done the head.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines. And I think that's where streaming has its place.
Yeah.
And then it can be more interactive. You can talk and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
So,
but
I think paint everything as fast as possible.
Imagine doctors prescribing them videos for an insomniacs, wouldn't they? Go, you've probably never heard of a blood angel, and you probably don't know what one is, but there's a guy who's got a 12-hour video.
Yes.
I'll write it down for you. Go and watch that.
He's got a really nice voice. Yeah. I think that'd be hilarious.
But everything's got to be consumed quick, hasn't it?
I think perhaps do you use TikTok at all?
A little bit.
Yeah. How you get, if it's a longer video and they want you to get to watch it, they'll split the screen and put like a game underneath.
Yeah.
And that's like something, focusing on like two things at once, like just kind of like immobilizes you and it sticks you to the screen. And maybe that's
that's a terrible state of affairs that we're at with regards to the attention span of the human race, isn't it?
Yeah. So like 8 out of 10 cats does Countdown. At least the videos that I get recommended, it's, Jimmy Carr and they're all having a laugh and this, that, and the other. And it's all about the context of where you're watching it. Like if you're sitting down and watching it on TV, of course, you're going to be more sort of focused on it. I'd like to think you wouldn't pay all that money to go to a cinema and then just be like, I can't watch this film. I'll just put that Subway Runner game on in front of me.
I watched a comedian the other day who was saying he says that he now thinks that people who, because of so much TikTok, he says, I now think anybody that told me they sat the other night and watched a movie, I was being massively intellectual. You go and you can sit all the way through a film.
Yeah.
You know, and you go,
Yeah.
You know, and I think, but like I say, I think speed painting has its place, especially for things like Kill Team. You
Definitely,
know, get it done in a weekend.
Yeah.
I think they have their place, but I also think painting at the speed that brings you the most joy has its place.
Absolutely. And I guess I don't think I can paint everything as fast as possible in the sea.
I think expectation can get in the sea.
I can fully understand how you log into YouTube and everything is the Slapchop phenomenon sort of thing. But Slapchop wasn't about painted in 2 minutes. It was like, do you hate painting, but want to play with painted miniatures, and that sort of stuff, and how that was incredibly popular, and then has sort of like.
I think the problem we have, where there needs to be a disconnect. What I think we've got at the moment, I think there is an overlap of teaching people to paint who don't really massively love painting and want to play, and the people who want to learn nice new techniques are ending up getting a bit caught in the mix of the thing that's like, here's how to get it done so you can get past that bit and get to the dice rolling bit. I think they're crossing paths where they should in some ways. But maybe,
and I think content creators, like, you know, I'm the problem in that we have a short period of time. We have 2 days to film this video. Well, let's paint something quick. What could be the selling point? We painted this quick. And as is the way, because you want to keep releasing videos, so people keep watching you and you earn money. And people do watch them as well. Like Slapshot videos still do really, really well. So it's very interesting. So it's, you know, it's in what's that like bit of land that that the Crown owns. It's like, it's not the beach, it's not the sea. It's
like the shallows, whatever that's called.
Yeah, like when the tide's out, you totally see it. The wash or something. No, that's I don't know. I remember learning about it when I got like my drone pilot's license or something like that. So maybe it can float around there.
I think so.
Yeah, it's in a rock pool somewhere.
You can get in the rock pool.
And I think, was it when we had Tom on, you know, and like, the mold library remover's terrible, and I said, but it's not designed for you. But then it's
designed for somebody who's not allowed to buy a knife.
Yes, but then understandably it could be frustrating if you walked outside and billboards everywhere were like, mold line remover, you need it. You're like, no, I don't. I've just got a hobby knife. But whatever. I don't know. Yeah, I'm indifferent about that one.
Okie dokie.
Close to the sea.
Close to the sea.
But not fully in.
No.
It's getting its feet wet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Paddle.
Yes.
You can go for a paddle in the sea.
Yeah. Interesting topic, that one. Lots to talk about. Faces and bases. Happy New Year, gents.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, there's been some flashes of real progress by GW in terms of free rules downloads. Long may that continue. I'd love it if they dropped the paywall for the app, though. Army building tied up by Warhammer Plus subs and physical codex purchases need to stay in 2023.
It's a tough one, this is. I think there's two answers. I think there's the answer as the consumer, and the answer is if I was running a business.
Yeah.
I personally think the Army Builder works extremely well. I think the rounding of the points cost, whether we think that's a good or a bad thing, has made it easier for the app to work. I think that's, not having to now start thinking, well, the price of a plasma gun, price of this, the price of that. So I think that's made a very reasonably good workable tool. There is other variants of it. I know that you have other army builders out there. I find the Games Workshop one the easiest to work with. Go, there's a photograph of the thing I own.
Yep.
Click. How many do I want? That many. So I was paying for that because it's a tool that I use, and it's a tool that I use that works. I don't go out to B&Q and get given a screwdriver for free. I have to buy it. And then I go home and lo and behold, it does its job. So paying for a tool that works for me quite well, then yes, I'm quite happy with that. But then this thing of the overlap of then going, I pay for that, why am I then also paying for codexes? Because I don't like the idea of. I get it. I think the problem being though is the fact that codexes cost £30, which there's a whole separate argument about whether that's too expensive. But then you would effectively be getting as many codexes as you would need, wouldn't you? For not a lot of
Yeah.
You could literally screenshot every single thing, couldn't you, and then cancel your subscription.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't like it. I don't like it. I think it's a bit ropey that yes, you're having to pay twice. But at the moment, I don't have a Black Templars Codex, so I rely on the app for building Black Templar armies. And I think so. The price, it's not a bad. It's good for me at the moment, but there needs to be. There is a third option, and I don't know what it is. I think is the problem.
Yeah, I think if Games Workshop had more competition, then they would sort it out.
Yeah.
But they don't, so they're not going to, because nobody else has any other options.
And the problem being as well is, and I can only speak for myself here, but I think if all my codexes were online for free, or in my app, in the Army Builder app or whatever, I've got to be honest and say I know, but I'd probably still go out and buy the book. I like physically having a book in my hand. I like sometimes just sitting there and you buy your code. If your codex just came through, if you think about everything you needed for your codex was in the app and it was for free. There's loads of people out there that really love their fluff and their lore.
Yeah,
they wouldn't get all that. They wouldn't get all the nice glossy photographs of the new miniatures that will be in a lot of codexes painted and all the rest of it. So I think it's a tough one because I think. Some people just want the bare bones rules, everything they need. Other people like the fluff and the colour photographs and all the rest of it. And then there's people like me. I don't know. I just consume rules better when I'm literally holding a physical book.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why, but So it's a tough one. But I think there does need to be some other option. I just don't know what it is. So
I mean, ideally it would be if you just want a codex, or you just want to buy digital rules, or have a separate, hopefully slightly cheaper version that's digital only.
Yeah.
And then you have the codex, which has the digital with it, like the code and everything.
I think maybe the answer that they just sell you, that you could just buy the code, but you could buy the code out the back of the book for a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the answer, is like, you go.
But is this all moot because they're not going to do that for a while?
Yeah, with all the are they? Because I used to play Infinity, and Infinity pushed their rules out for free online. I still went out and bought the book.
Yeah.
I just did, and that's just how I see it. I think it's a difficult one to answer because I think it just comes down to what you want from your purchase. I think I get it that people don't like the fact they're being charged twice.
Yeah.
But I don't mind paying that price because I feel like it's a workable tool that suits me. So.
And then, because I guess books are becoming more irrelevant because of when they do all the balance data slates and all that sort of stuff. Like, I mean, the Votan Codex was out of date before it even
came out, which is
came out on general release, which is awful. So then you're buying £30 book that's pointless, and then you have to use the digital ones anyway. So again, that could be the tournaments, they're balancing things, and
I think they're them being honest now of going, we're going to always constantly be looking at the points.
Yeah,
which leads all the way back to that older question about tournaments. But this thing going, we're always going to be, and now the fact that where your points cost is in the codex has a QR code that you can scan, which will get you access to the most up-to-date points cost for your army.
Yeah.
It seems to be something heading in the right direction.
Yes, which makes the books more and more irrelevant.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
You're kind of, you got, right, I've got my up-to-date rules and a paperweight with some nice pictures in.
Yeah.
So you know what? Yeah, codexes, as lovely as they are, and I can appreciate that people like the books. I'm definitely one of them. But in terms of the way the game is going, I think we've answered it, and they have to get in the sea.
I hated. I want to disagree with you, but if I put my utterly sensible hat on for a minute, I think you're probably right.
Let's side with the consumer. yeah, we're not pro Games Workshop. What? Okay. Looney says Stormcast and Marines being the poster boys. Other factions offer so much more. So can I go first on this one?
Please do.
Firmly on land for me.
All right.
So Stormcast and Space Marines, they look really cool. And to your outsider, you think of like Games Workshop, Warhammer, you think of a Space Marine. And other factions do have more to offer.
Yes.
But you need your entry point.
Yeah.
And I think they look cool. They get people started. And then, there's the aliens that they fight with.
Yeah.
Oh, and then there's this, and there's a book about that, and so on and so forth. So I think there's a funnel. Whereas I'm assuming, I'm going to make an assumption. I don't try not to do that very often. That if they're on our Patreon, they're a hobby fan and they know Games Workshop product. But everybody starts somewhere. So if you have something generic that lots of people will look at and go, yeah, that looks cool. Whereas if you had a Hobgrot Slitter as the poster boy of Age of Sigmar, and then or like what's that squig that looks like Elvis? Clonk or something, and he was a poster boy 40k. You're like, what?
Make it very niche, wouldn't it?
Yeah, those are very extreme examples, but I think a nice, generic, lots of people will think this is cool, entry into the hobby, and then that's the start of your journey.
Yeah.
Potentially. So I think firmly on land.
Firmly on land. I think firmly on land. I think it's funny that the poster boys, which in some ways I sort of respect, really. I think it's quite funny that if you look from the 40k poster boys, I can't say too much about Stormcast, I don't know them very well, that the Marines are the poster boys, but in actual game terms don't do that well, which I think is quite interesting.
Yeah.
And I think the problem being is if you, even though the minute you tap into the lore of Space Marines, you know they're not really very much the good guys, but you know we've talked about that with our friend Arbiter Ian, is that they're not really the good guys. But if you're new to the hobby, they look like the good guys.
Yes.
They're a bit...
They're defenders of the human race.
And I know they came first for anyone tries saying they're a bit Halo.
Yeah.
They're a bit, big guys in sci-fi armor. And the other thing about them, I know that once you go down the rabbit hole with Space Marines can be massively complex to paint when it comes to highlighting and shading and all the rest of it. I get that. But I think even for the uninitiated, you just spray a Space Marine and then stick a decal on his shoulder and paint the gun.
Yeah.
They look all right.
Yeah.
And Stormcast the same. You spray him gold.
Yeah.
Paint the tabard in blue. And they look okay.
Imagine if you had Gene Stealers and it's like, right, well, the skin has to be this, but then it gets like a deeper purple.
Yeah.
And then you really want to highlight all the stripes on their heads. They have the chitin.
They have to be human, don't
and then
they?
the skin, and then the suits. Don't forget the dynamite. That would be really difficult.
And that's it, isn't it? This is the problem. They have to be, we always are attracted to things that I think initially, till you know more, you're always attracted to things you can relate to, and you go, if the guardsman was the poster boy of 40k, I think he'd still go, well, he looks, my uncle's in the army, and he looks a bit like that, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You go, cool, but you need to go Space Marine to go, that's blatantly a bigger, cooler version of what we are.
Yeah.
I think rightly or wrongly, I think we're attracted to things that remind us of ourselves in some way. And I think, So no, you may be absolutely right that there is cooler looking aliens and all the rest of it, and I agree with a large amount of that, but I think they have to stay on land.
Yeah, because I think Marines are fantastic, But I like, from a Black Library point of view, I love reading about humans.
Yeah.
And how they survive in such like a crazy universe. But then if I look at a shop window and there's, I don't know, like someone holding a las gun or something, it kind of be like, what? Like, yeah.
At the end of the day, the way you've got the way I look at it is rightly or wrongly, and people go, oh, shake their fist at me.
I'm getting my fist ready.
But if you didn't, if Space Marines weren't cool from the beginning, you would never have any of the Xenos races anyway. There's no one would have ever bought them. And you need to buy Space Marines to then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Once the game really got in its flow of like second edition, you needed to have cool looking Space Marines for then everything else to come from that. And I think as Games Workshop's early USP, I think they were vital. So no, dry land for me.
Yeah, dry land. Yeah.
All the way back as far as maybe in the cafe. Not even on the beach.
What's it? I mean, appropriate. Nottingham is a landlocked county, so they can
no wonder they're here.
They can stay in Games Workshop. Yeah. Okay. Stuart says, I would love to wave a wand and get rid of the need for sub-assemblies for painting. I always muck up the gluing together with the painting after. So sub-assemblies. I mean, if you're in pursuit of perfection,
yes,
you're doing your sub-assemblies, aren't you?
You are.
To get all of the perfect angles on everything to do the like. I don't like sub-assemblies. I understand the need for them.
I don't do it often.
But I always love the building side of things, and I have very little self-control, and I always like that immediate high of being like, I built it.
Yeah.
Whereas
the amount of times I've done that with a black template that's wore a cloak that I've said to myself, I'll leave that cloak off.
Yes.
And then the next thing I'm sitting and looking at a grey plastic miniature with a cloak on.
Yeah. And like my Custodes army, I was like, right, I'm just going to do nothing but build them for however long. I was like, I'm not going to sub-assembly anything. And then I based them all as well. And then now I'm pulling them off the bases to paint the underneath of the cloaks and stuff like that. Because I'm like, the way that I've done them, I'm like, right, I've done my gold, and you do that quite early on, and it's like, right, I don't want to mess up and get loads of stuff on the gold because it's really hard to clean. So I'm like, it's much easier. I mean, it's not technically a sub-assembly, I guess. If I'd put them all on corks, then that would have been great. But I kind of went after the speed of building just to get it done.
Yeah.
I
think sometimes the building does run away with you. I think it really does.
Yeah.
I don't sub-assembly many things. I generally work on the idea if I have to get a really small paintbrush in there to get all of that painted, then generally once they're in a gang of 10, most people aren't going to see it anyway.
Yeah.
You know, if I to get to the back of that cloak behind, you know, it's like, you know, I think sub-assembly comes down to your own personal pursuit for perfection.
Yes, and how are you going to be viewing that miniature? Yeah, like if it's an heavy metal Space Marine and you are looking at it the equivalent of like on Warhammer.com, that amazing website that no one has anything bad to say.
Nothing at all.
That can stay in 2023. That bloody website. Get in the sea. That, you know, you're looking at all the fine details and you're inspecting it. Whereas, yes, if it's one miniature in 10 of a bigger army, then who would be looking at it?
I would say.
So it's very personal, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a very personal answer to that one. I think if you plan it out well for sub-assembly, if you're doing like a main character, then I've got to be honest. It's very unlikely I will ever paint him. But if I was painting the lion, I probably would sub-assemble the lion. Yeah, and I would and there's this whole thing of paint on glue and glue on paint, and that this gent's talking about. I very much understand that. I get it, but I think I would just spend a real good chunk of time looking at maybe some of the people on YouTube who are really good painters who do sub-assemble and see how they planned it out.
Yeah.
and go with that, And I think, and to be fair, I think increasingly with a lot of the new 40k miniatures, I'll use as an example, and probably a lot of Games Workshop miniatures across the board, the glue points are starting increasingly becoming hidden in the way they design miniatures.
Yeah.
So a lot of things where so I think miniatures are becoming a little bit more forgiving for not potentially pulling off the best sub-assembly ever
as the technology improves and that kind of thing.
But I think it's your own personal pursuit.
Yes. Yeah. So for me, depends on the miniature, I think. Yeah.
So it's a bit of a wishy-washy answer, that, but
if I could get away with never doing a sub-assembly, I would.
Yes.
So
I'm exactly the same.
So I think if reality didn't exist, I would say sub-assemblies, get in the sea.
Yeah.
I don't like doing them, but I will if I absolutely have to. Yeah.
And it's certain things. It doesn't take a whole load to just leave a cloak off, stick a bit of blue tack on one side of it, paint it, make sure it's really, really dry, turn it over, and paint the other one.
Yeah.
It's not massively difficult to do. It's just your patience, I think, is more, and not turning into a 10-year-old and wanting to have everything on the table. Built, I think, is the problem.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, interesting. So, to go, someone said, I'd like to stay in 2024, keep the fun in painting and showing work to others. I think that's great.
That's a nice positive.
To go, I think some channels that are just all negative about GW. I mean, yes, they do some bad things, but lighten up a little. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, I have a strong standpoint on this. I don't like massively negative video channels myself. I think there's a place for them.
Yeah.
I think that people feel that they want to call big companies out, obviously mainly Games Workshop. They want to call them out for things they do wrong, and let's be honest, they do plenty of things wrong. But they're not the only company that does things wrong. We bought a bloomin' Dyson to hoover our van, and very quickly it died, and it was the battery had gone, and then when we found out about replacing the battery was 2/3 of the price of the hoover.
Oh,
you know what I mean? It's like, so it's not, these things across your life aren't just, just grey miniature problems. They're problems for a whole range of things. But I don't want to, and I don't have to. And some of the ones that I find that really do spend their time being massively down on Games Workshop, the way I work with them is I just don't watch them. But I don't want someone to really slag off my hobby, because I like my hobby and I want to enjoy my hobby.
Yeah.
And I don't want someone to tell me that my hobby's all wrong.
Yeah.
And that might be a bit head in the sand approach, but I don't want that. I think if you really, really want to hear people whinge and be negative about something that you enjoy doing, you really, really need to spend more time following football. Because there will be loads of people will either slag your team off because they support another one, or slag your team off and that's also the team they support. If you really want to hear people whinge about something you spend a lot of time enjoying, or a lot of time invested in, watch more football and then listen to more podcasts and YouTube channels about your football team, and you'll get exactly that high. Is my answer.
Yeah.
But if your Warhammer channel is negative, you do you, and good on you that people enjoy what you do, but I don't need you to make me feel worse about my hobby. I spend enough time doing it. I don't need to make me worse about it.
Fair.
So in the sea for me for that one.
Yeah. I think not in the sea.
Okay. Interesting.
I think I'm very much in the sort of like, I don't know, like don't hate the player, hate the game.
Okay.
In that, like, yes, like I generally don't watch channels like that.
Yeah.
But they're never going to go away, or anything like that. And I think if someone's made a career out of it, power to them. If they weren't doing it, somebody else would be.
Absolutely right.
I know that, like some people don't like leaks and that sort of thing. It's it's here, it's the world we live in. Can it change? Maybe a little bit, but realistically, probably not.
The good thing about them channels is you watch one, you go, well, that was quite negative. And then if you look at then the list of all the videos they've done, generally they all lead with quite negative titles. I think it's very quick to understand what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And to then just go, don't,
and quite
don't
often
click the notify button. Don't subscribe to them.
Yes. And I think the titles are usually a bit sensational because it's clickbait. You want people to click and watch the video. And then quite often, if I ever have, I'm like, oh, that was more balanced than I thought it would be. Which I think is why I'm sort of not in the sea. I think every element of the hobby, I mean, within reason, has its place.
No, it's funny though, isn't it? Is which I think shows quite an interesting, for me, an interesting slant on the community for wargaming, especially Games Workshop based wargaming, is that you get negative. You get people who spend a lot of time doing negative videos about them, and then there's the rest of us. But you don't get too many that are hugely sycophantic, which is quite. You don't get many where people go, Games Workshop can do no wrong. Really, most people are generally like, don't like the price of these. I don't like there's 5 in the box. I don't like there's this, or and it generally can be relatively balanced about it. And I think it shows that. I think it shows an interesting thing. I think to some degree, mainly, I think if you were very sycophantic about Games Workshop, would people just not trust you?
Yeah,
I think so. We generally relatively well balanced on here. We talk about what we like, we talk about what we don't like, but we don't get really aggressively annoyed about stuff or whinge about things that we can't change. So yeah, in the sea for me because they make me feel bad.
Yeah,
but out to sea because I feel like I don't have to watch them.
Yeah,
so
fair. Yeah, I think that's all right. Excellent. Okay. Less snap fit kits and more posable kits. Legs, body, arms, heads. Instead of this only fit like the picture says format.
Oh. Well, if Mr. Peach was here, he would tell you that you put enough effort in, everything's convertible.
Yeah.
He's a big believer of getting stuck in and converting things. For me, I think it's a funny one, and I've talked about this before, because I was in 20 years ago when, or more than 20 years ago as it was, when when I think it was Mark 8 armor Marines, and they were all interposable heads and torsos and legs and arms, and you could swap the weapons around and stuff, and they were much more easy to do it. And people go, oh, they were so easy to multi-pose and do this and you do that. But you know what? Basically, if you looked at 2 Marine armies, all of the cool different ways of posing them, everyone had done the same as each other anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of a foot in both camps here. It's like multi-pose, do what I want with them, but then no matter how cool a pose I've come up with, somebody else has already done it.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of it, I think some of these ones where they are been designed to only work that way, some of the poses are really, really cool.
Yeah.
The fact that now, instead of me having to make an arm do this, the fact that there is, I think on the Space Wolf Primaris kit, there is an entire, and also it's happened on the Snapfit Infernus Marines. You can now have an entire arm with a dagger half out of a scabbard that can be being pulled.
Yeah.
And at one point in time, when you go back to multi-part kit, you'd have still had to hacksaw that to bits to get that to do that. And the fact that some of the modelling system now is so clever that you end up with real, and you can still put that arm on, a lot of different Marines. So choice to be able to convert and do what you want, I understand it, but I found that no matter how cool I made something, and I turned up and played in my local Games Workshop being Friday, someone else had the Marine that already looked the same. So, yeah. It's a very long-winded answer, I'm afraid, but I don't know. I think some of the new design, yes, it is a pain, when you're trying to go, what arms do they go with? What legs do they only fit? But I generally think the finished product looks really good.
Yes.
And if you still put the effort in, you can still convert them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So not in the sea for me.
Not in the sea. I'm inclined to agree. And I'm aware that I'm approaching this from a bit more of like a novice sort of point of view. But like I say, I've been doing a bit of 3D printing recently, and I got some STLs for some essentially killer can, variants.
Yeah.
So like all killer cans, mini dreadnoughts, clippers, and everything. And these have more sort of standardized bits. And you can put any legs you want, any arms you want, and it's like a ball and socket joint. And initially, I was like, oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I can convert it. I can do whatever I want. But then I looked at the finished thing, and I was like, well, it all looks like this mechanical scrap cool thing.
Yeah.
Apart from this, like, all these random ball and socket joints everywhere. And that took me out of it.
Yes.
And I thought, if this was a GW kit, like I have some killer cans yet to build them. Yes, they'll most likely be stuck in one of two poses.
Yeah.
But they will look more complete because of it.
Yeah.
So, and again, with the 3D printing stuff, with the Black Templar bits, I've tried to use I want to put that hand on there. And then, maybe I'm going to have to use that one now, but I can't have two hands pointing forwards. And then I'm sort of doing the posing, and it's the test that I haven't studied for. Whereas I fully understand how some people would love that and like to pose things themselves. Yes, it's a lot, perhaps more effort now because you're generally forced to try and do it one way. But for me, currently where I am in my hobby journey, I quite like having a professional that's designed it for me and made it look really cool, because I feel it leaves less room for error for me.
Yeah.
So on land.
I think, the bottom line is I can spend ages converting a Marine so he looks like he's jumping off a rock with a knife and look really cool. Or I can go out and buy a miniature so that an expert has designed of a Marine jumping off a rock with a knife. You know what I mean? Because I think, you go, yeah, but your Marine you've bought jumping off a rock with a knife is the same as my one that I bought. They're just different colours. And you go, yeah, but back to it, if I sat there and cut everything up and converted it and changed it, I'd still eventually walk into somebody who'd done exactly the same thing as well. So, I'd rather have the nicely designed miniatures. And if you really have that burning desire to get your hacksaw out, you still can.
Yeah.
So that's it for me.
Okay.
Not in the sea for me.
No, not in the sea for me either. But I can understand that some people
totally understand it.
Would want to throw it in the sea.
Yeah.
Okay. I really don't want to see any more difficult to get exclusive models like the Catachans we had recently. They're all being scalped, and to people who live in a country without official Warhammer stores, there's really no way of getting them. Sad face.
Wholeheartedly agree on that. I used to play a game called Confrontation, and I spent a lot of time because it was late to get into the UK because it was a French game.
Yeah.
And it took a while to sort of find its feet in the UK. And then I spent silly money and silly amounts of time hunting down exclusive Confrontation miniatures that had been given away at French tournaments and I think that thing of going, I really want that, and through no fault of my own, it's not available to me. And I know you can go, well, grow up, it's the real world. I want a Porsche, but I can't get one. But it's not like that because it's within your means to afford one.
Yes.
But you can't get one.
Yeah.
Or because a certain amount of people are holding on to them and are selling them for large sums of money. Or it's just not available in your country one way or another. I think it is sad, especially when you think Games Workshop obviously have to make that mold. That mold sitting somewhere.
Yep.
You could be, and especially take the Catch Chance, for example. is the fact they're an army that in some ways has got some newish little bits done a little while ago, and then other bits of it are really creaking away. The fact that they've had a couple of exclusive miniatures that really would help a tired army,
yes,
and then they're not available to everybody, must sting.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And I think the argument of like, just don't be sad about it, is like, just cheer up. Like it's that's not valid. So
No.
yeah, I think if it's like I can understand why they do it, but yeah, get in the sea.
The thing is as well, is that we are players, we're painters, but we're all, whether we ever like to put this moniker onto ourselves, we are also, by the pure definition of what we do, collectors. And when there's something you can't collect, it just always stings, even if it stings some people more than others, but I think it stings all of us.
Yeah.
So I think not being able to get them, I think that definitely should get in the sea. What I think you should do to give people their feeling of being a special boy is maybe give them a head start. Go, right, this will be available for, store anniversaries, tournaments, games days, whatever.
Yeah.
They're there, and you'll only be able to get them there, but they should always come with, will be released at a later date.
Yeah.
So within a year, you'll be able to just go into the shop and buy one.
Yeah.
Or buy one only online, through Games Workshop, exclusively online or something. But I think,
because
if you want to feel special, you can have it early, but everyone should eventually be able to get one.
You can get, this is like, you could go down the line of this, like, your Chinese recasters, and because you could definitely get them off of...
well, this is it. Well, all of these exclusive miniatures that people can't get their hands on, if you go search around hard enough on the internet, you can get a... I have one, and I'll be honest about it. I have the Death Guard alternative plague caster.
Yeah.
And he was only available in Japan in a paint set.
Yeah.
And I wanted 2 plague casters in my army. I didn't want to have the same miniature twice.
Yeah.
And that one, I bought it. I feel no guilt over it. And the reason I feel no guilt over it is because if Games Workshop had made him available to me in the UK, I'd have bought theirs. And I'd rather have bought theirs because the quality of them, the plastic versus the resin is actually better for GW. I'd rather have the GW one all day long, but I wasn't having somebody have me pants down on eBay to pay the 40, 50 quid.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So as much as I'd rather not use Chinese recasters, if you'd have made them available Games Workshop, you'd have had me money.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Very good point. So a few people, I'm going to sort of bunch these into one, because some others have said the same sort of things, and that is Games Workshop pre-orders can get in the sea. Either do them properly, more like made to order, or don't do them at all.
Wholehearted. I don't even feel like I need to give a reasoning for that. I wholeheartedly agree with every bit of that. Yeah, get in the sea.
Yeah.
Do them right or don't bother.
Yeah. Because it's becoming increasingly hard. Like the latest Kill Team box, the Scouts versus the Scorpions.
Yes.
Because everything's on a 2-week pre-order window at the minute, which is a bit annoying. And then, sold out immediately, didn't it? Again. So whatever. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but they need to sort out.
They felt like they promised us it was all going to get better. And it may just take a long time before you see that, but it feels like it hasn't yet.
It's interesting though, because they never officially said anything about that. It was all people going, it might be quite difficult because they're just really busy making Leviathan boxes. And I think that was something that was accepted in the community.
Yeah, but you're right, it had no official remark to say that.
Because they never said
Unless there was, I don't remember it, but I don't think so.
Because there's rumours of this other factory, but it was on the same grid as the
major hospital.
The hospital, and then when they turned it on, the hospital went, we're not getting enough power. So then the county council went, would we like to keep saving lives or produce more toys?
Toys, obviously.
Yeah. So, and this is all conjecture and rumour and this, that and the other. So they've got to make another factory somewhere else, but then they want to keep it on the campus. But they're like, it's a bit of a pickle.
I don't get me wrong, I don't envy them.
No.
I don't envy them at all.
Yeah.
It must be really, really difficult.
Yeah,
But
making 100 million profit. Oh.
yeah,
Oh.
bless them. But I mean, I don't envy the trying to keep all the plates spinning. But I think the one that I think got me was like, was that League of Votann kill team. It was literally on sale for seconds, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was just, and it just, I know with a little bit of patience, it all eventually turns up on a shelf. But
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen anything else. Maybe, which is not, although I am a bit of a fan, but not on that fanatical level. There is people that queue up outside trendy sports shops for a pair of trainers that go on sale for a run that the minute they're done, that's the end of it.
Yeah.
But they are, to me, and if you are one, good on you, the more fanatical end of owning training shoes. This is a thing for a game of toy soldiers that what percentage of the country we make up must be ridiculously low.
Yeah.
And you can't make enough for us.
Yeah. I mean, perhaps they had a massive boom during COVID, people staying in, having more time, a victim of their own success, perhaps, and are struggling to play catch up. Yeah. Growth is painful.
Yeah.
Maybe they're still trying to figure it out. I don't know.
Maybe they are still trying to get everything back on an even keel since Leviathan, for all I know, because I don't ultimately, and if you are one, maybe because of the country you live in, I am sorry to hear it, but I think in the end everyone got Leviathan.
Yeah.
There was eventually, there was enough, wasn't he?
I mean, when we went to go and see Element Games,
when we went and seen our friend Byron up at Element Games in Stockport.
He had 100 in a pile.
He virtually made a tuck shop in the car park house.
Yeah.
He had loads of them, didn't he?
Yeah.
So, because he had he had about 100 in a pile, and then they were on shelves all around. And I remember saying to Byron, I said, "How have you got so many left?" He went, "When I put them up for pre-order, I just didn't put them all up for pre-order."
Yes. Yeah.
And so people that I don't know anyone who went, "Oh, wasn't able to get Leviathan."
Yeah. I think everybody.
Sometimes as well, I think with certain things, it's best just waiting out, because a lot of the time when it's a 2-army box for whatever it might be, generally a lot of the time people only want one bit out of it. I've got the Scouts coming because your friend of mine, Andrew Gibson, he said, I really want them Striking Scorpions, a new box. And I went, well, I really want them Scouts. And he went, well, I'll buy it. And he says, and you can buy the Scouts.
How much was the box?
I can't remember. I don't remember.
Because it doesn't have as much scenery in, does it?
No, it just has key point scenery that I get. Yeah, I get the impression have rules or objectives within the game, but I don't know how much. I don't know how much it was.
I'll have to have a look. So I hope it's cheaper than
Andrew Gibson very kindly, considering he already bought me for Christmas bought me a splatter tool.
Nice.
And I said to him, I said, when you come in, I said, when that comes in, let me know. And I said, and I'll tell me how much I owe you for the Scouts. He went, no, you can have them for Christmas. Which is very sweet. Very nice. Already buying me a Christmas present.
Yeah.
He's a lovely man.
He is. Shout out to Andrew Gibson.
Yeah.
Okay, easy one. Finecast. I can't stand it and won't buy it. Get in the sea.
Oh, I should have got it to see about 5 years ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. Shouldn't have even been brought into existence.
It should have choked at least 12 dolphins by now, how long that's been in the sea.
Yeah. So we've got some stock issues. Flying stands are just awful. Somewhere man after that. Yeah.
Well, I'm the opposite, and I quite like them because
I don't flying stands.
I don't like flying stands, but I like all the alternatives to them less.
Yeah. Like the jumping off of a rock.
Jumping off of a rock, standing precariously on a rock with 1 foot.
Yeah.
And if you like them, good on you. I don't like the big STL printed.
I like smoke and
stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think the epitome of tactical rock jumping was like the new jetpack.
Which mine are all on, because at the moment I can't figure out what I'm going to do with them. I just thought the one that really stood out to me as looking ridiculous was Dante.
Yeah,
because I thought either you're landing on a precariously small amount of rock in that enormous big gold suit, or you're taking off from a very small precarious amount of you go. My engines aren't quite good enough to get me off the ground. If I just climb up that 2 foot of rock and then jump, I'll be where I need to be. Yeah. And I just couldn't, narratively it made no sense.
Yeah, I kind of imagine Dante coming in like going down and like, I don't know, maybe
Yeah, but
shooting
you
someone.
you'd aim for the battlefield, not for that precarious bit of rock, surely.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I don't know.
yeah.
It's hard because I understand this thing of trying to give them height, and flight stands are really rubbish, but they are the one out of the lot that looks the best for me.
Yeah. Okay, the Desolators can stay in 2023. Probably the naffest models they've done.
Do you think? Yeah, they definitely can stay.
They're very good. They're very good in game, aren't they?
Well, they're not now.
Oh, they're not.
They were amazingly good.
Yeah.
And then they rapidly nerfed them. One of the main things that they did as a nerf was they stopped you taking them in 10s. They sort them you could only take them in 5s.
Oh.
So they've nerfed them. So they're a funny thing. I think a lot of people were like me. I bought them for my son's army and went, I'll get them for him because they're pretty good. And I bought them from Troll Trader.
Yeah.
From one of that big box they came in, all chopped. So they were just, I had them in. I got 5 of them out of that. And I thought, they're really good in game, so I'll get him some. And I think a lot of people were the same when I don't really like the looks of them, but I know they work well.
Yeah.
And now, so they looked bad, played well. Now they look bad, play bad. So I think they are.
Maybe they will stay in 2023 regardless of whether people like them or not.
They'll probably stay in 2023 amongst a lot of the tournament players.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Well, the funny thing is about them, isn't it? If what Mr. Peach told us was to be true, is that they were sat on the shelf for a long time because even they knew they weren't great.
Yes. Yeah. So
maybe they belong in 2022, 2021, even. Who knows how far back?
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
Would I like to see if they are the newest kit to be redesigned? What will be the first Primaris kit? Not in count and push fits, because that doesn't count. What will be the first Primaris kit to get a refresh? Now, there'll be an interesting one to see. And it could be the Desolators.
And how long it might
take. Yeah.
I reckon they're niche enough that they'd just go.
Yeah, if they unless Games Workshop, and I know people say they do this on purpose, and I don't know what to do, unless Games Workshop went, oh Christ, we got loads of them Desolators sitting on the shelf, unnerf them and make them amazingly good.
Yeah.
But fair dues to Games Workshop. I sometimes think there's things that they could be pushing really well, and they just keep them. They go, no, they're too good. We've got to, and you go, but you go, we want every tournament Marine player should have Desolators. Let's keep them really, really good.
Yeah,
but they haven't. So I don't know. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what will be the first kit that gets refreshed. From Primaris.
Yeah.
The cheeky answer is they might do. They might sort of refresh the bikes by giving them like White Scar bikes or Raven Wing bikes. They might get it refreshed that way, but I don't know.
But is that like, so they've released the Terminators and then now they've announced the
Deathwing Terminators.
The Deathwing. Yeah. So, but I don't think that counts as a refresh.
No, that doesn't. No. But I mean, you
like
know,
making something chapter specific.
Yeah,
so
it doesn't. That doesn't count. You're right. It's not really a refresh, is it? But I think some people who will have bikes and like bikes, will probably still buy Raven Wing bikes to get different poses, and you know what I mean. So,
okay, that makes sense.
You never know,
because the bikes are still push fit, right?
Bikes are still push fit, and they're terribly bad push fit at that as well. They're really bad. The only way to actually get them to work is to cut all of the pegs out of them and glue them together, because they leave really terribly big gaps. Yeah, they're not great.
Oh dear.
So Desolators can belong in 2023 or earlier.
Yeah. Into C. The painting phase to remain, obviously. Thank you very much. But although it's nice to see perfect paint jobs and it's part of the hobby, I'd like to see less perfection and more imperfection. Getting painting done quick, easy, on the table, and in all its that'll do pig, that'll do glory.
Oh, we've talked about this already, haven't we?
Yeah.
That yes, I think both have their place. I think, if you're more a gamer, then absolutely right, perfection can get in the C. And if you're more a painter collector, or just or a gamer, but you like your armies to be as nice as they can, then
Yeah.
speed painting can get in the sea. I don't think there's a perfect answer for that one.
No. I think you paint how you want to.
Yeah.
To quote Richard Gray's wife when he had a sore throat and she did his April Fool's video, she said, "He's your orc. You paint him however you like."
Such a good video, that.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Good.
I wish you'd do more, Richard, if you're listening. Yeah. So, Scott says, those stupid Kirby flying stands, they are hard to attach. Never stay there for too long and make the model very top heavy.
Yep.
Someone said the current Citadel files, utter crap and wear out with minimal use. Still got and using my previous generation blue handle ones.
Oh, I remember the blue handle ones. I've got to be honest, I generally now, I'm all, I'm team sponge file all the way.
Yeah.
File stick, the little thin filing sticks, or the bigger ones that we've got. Some were kindly given to us by AK, or you bought them from AK, whichever, I can't remember. But I'm all about sponge ones now. I don't use the metal files particularly.
No, I really like nail files, like the sponge ones. Yeah. Like, not great because you get less use out of them and you're throwing something else in the bin and that kind of thing. But the convenience and the quality, I think, are great.
Yeah. So I agree. Then to be fair, Games Workshop, if you are looking good quality modelling tools, Games Workshop aren't your first stop.
No.
They don't produce the best clippers. They don't produce the best file. They don't produce the best glue.
Nope.
They don't do any of it. What you really need to do is do a little bit of research on the internet, and you'll find out the people who make the best. And then they're not even competitively priced against some of the really good ones.
No, I mean, they're designed for somebody going into a shop and being like, right, I've got these models. What else do I need? And someone goes, this, and this. Done. Yeah. And then, you go down the hobby trumpet, don't you?
Yeah, there's a whole video about it with Mr. Tom.
As we know.
Hiddleston.
Yeah.
Not Tom Hiddleston. That'd be nice if we'd had him on the show, wasn't it? Tom Hibbard. Yeah, if you haven't seen Tom's 2 videos, they are worth a watch.
Okay, Forge World Resin models are all overpriced crap, and the quality control is terrible. Get in the sea.
Yeah. I've not built a lot of Forge World Resin, but I have even in the probably 10 pieces I've had some howlers in there.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lucky for me is the fact I don't live too far.
Yeah.
I can just get in my van, drive to go, oh, that's rubbish, and someone goes away and comes back and go, try that one. And you go, yeah, that looks better.
Oh, okay.
But if you're overseas, you live in New Zealand and you buy, I think I would probably never buy a Forge World kit if I lived in New Zealand. A, because of the conversion on the price, but also it turns up and there's a bit you can't fix, or it's got, they are still a tough enough kit to build based on the material and based on the model structure. You shouldn't then have to be sitting there with green stuff filling in bubbles.
Yeah.
Using your hairdryer to unwarp things. That shouldn't be part of the hobby challenge.
It is an expert kit.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? It should never get to the point that, if you've got a kit that you have to start getting a drill out and pinning, then yes, that's because you accept that as part of being an expert kit. But when you have to start correcting a flaw, that's not expert kit modeling.
No.
You know what I mean?
No. Yeah, very good point. Yeah.
And especially at that price.
Yes. Because I guess they make less of them, so to cover the costs, it has to be more expensive, how the business works. I just think I bought a few bits in resin, the Custodes Dreadnoughts.
Yeah.
I can't wait for them to be out in plastic. Building the arms, because you're like, right, okay, and I have to sort of hold it all together. Maybe I should have blue tacked it, but right, this has to be that angle, because that has to be that angle, and then this has to be that, and that has to be that. And then you let go, and then it all just falls to bits, and then you're like, right, whereas it is more complicated.
If you're buying one of them, I know people go, well, you've got more money than sense to start with, but if you're buying a Warlord Titan. And
a what?
A Warlord Titan. if you are building one of them, and and then you decided you wanted this particular gun, and them guns run for like I don't know, they must be, some of them are kicking nearly 3 figures.
Yeah.
And you get that gun and you take it home and it's warped or it's got a bubble in it
Yeah.
for that amount of money, and you go, and that's just the gun. That's not the miniature. That's the gun.
Yeah.
I think I don't wish to see the end of Forge World, because I think it produces a lot of amazing stuff, but it does. If it was still Forge World, but it was all plastic, I'd be a very happy man.
Yeah. Forge World is doing more and more plastic now, aren't they?
Yeah. I think eventually, sadly as it is, I think Forge World will just get swallowed up by the main GW
Like
line.
Citadel, yeah.
And I think it will only be your really weird fanboy stuff like Titans and stuff like that will probably. I can't see them ever getting rid of Titans, because they are almost like this, like linchpin of expense, aren't they? People who really want to spend money, who've got it, buy these, or they buy Thunderhawks or whatever. So I think they will always be around, but I can't ever in my lifetime see there being a plastic Titan.
Yeah. No, crikey. That'd be very expensive as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Cheaper than the resin?
Yeah, cheaper than the resin.
Yeah, it would be cheaper than the resin. Yeah,
but still would be.
And it would be a huge, I don't think they'd ever do it. But that's why Forge World exists, to do all that
stuff that.
And then you are properly into it if you're buying resin. So yeah, I don't enjoy resin. I think it still needs to exist. So it's not on the beach, it's on the dunes. Personally.
Yes.
Personally.
I just think think what needs to go in the sea is bad quality control.
Yeah.
I think is really what needs to be left in 2023, whichever you prefer. But I think it needs to go is people not taking enough time and effort on the kit. And at the end of the day, they should do, because they don't produce that much of it.
No. No. Yeah. Okay, interesting one. I think scrapping the paywall on the app would be good. We kind of talked about that. And get rid of the blanket Warhammer Plus ban for Canadians. Since August, new Canadian subs aren't allowed because of localization difficulties. So I think Canada came up with a law that said if you're streaming in Canada, you have to have a certain percentage of it done by Canadians, I think. Or I'm not 100% sure. More than happy to be corrected. I think and GW, all UK based, or I don't know where the animation teams are based. I'm presuming not Canada, because now can't do it in Canada.
Really bizarre rule, that, isn't it? I always like this idea of trying to promote industry within your own nation. And I'm not a massively patriotic person.
Yeah,
but I think being able to produce, if you said to me you can buy a British washing machine or you can buy a washing machine from Japan, I'd probably be more tempted to buy the British one, even if I thought I was paying slightly more for it. Because I do like homegrown industry. But I do think that's a little bit weird. I wonder maybe if the answer to that is that they just hire Canadian voice actors.
Yeah, as opposed to like the same 5 Black Library voice actors that they have, and they all do a fantastic job. Don't get me wrong.
Or just like go back into the animation and have a load of Space Marines with a big maple leaf as their chapter. Or they're all wearing check shirts or something. I don't know.
Yeah, just one of them just comes on and says "a boot."
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't. I think that's massively unfair.
Yes,
and also just a little bit silly.
Yeah,
it's a bit silly when you consider you can still walk into. I'm sure I've not been, sadly, but I'm sure there is a pretty stonkingly good Warhammer shop somewhere in Toronto.
Oh yeah.
So the fact that they've got a shop where virtually all of everything it sells will have been made overseas.
Yeah.
You can go in, but you can't consume media that is completely designed somewhere else. It's a bit odd, isn't it?
But then I guess let's say like when the Amazon show comes into existence,
that could be really bad, couldn't it?
But Amazon Prime Prime Video, whatever it is, still works in Canada. So people in 3 to 5 years' time will be able to watch something.
But it's weird, isn't it?
Because it's not
really
show
weird.
specific. I think it's just in general as a company.
Yeah.
So Amazon are big enough that they're probably like, yeah, we've got that, we've got this. Like Netflix, for example, they have loads of, apparently because for the first time ever, they released all of their viewing data or something like that. More and more people are watching with subtitles on. Foreign language films are increasing because people are used to watching with subtitles. So now, like Squid Game, for example, that was like massive.
It was enormous.
Everyone was talking about it.
For considering, although you could watch that, dubbed, couldn't you?
Yeah.
It was shocking.
I didn't bother. I'd prefer to watch it with subs.
I would. The only problem I have with subtitle shows where they are foreign language is it means I can't have them on while I'm painting. Is the only downside.
Yes.
You have to give it your entire attention.
Yeah, I was chatting with Keris about this.
You can't have your phone out.
I'd only watch a foreign language film with subtitles if I was sat down and that was my focus. I couldn't put it on as background noise.
No. And the other problem I have with it as well is that I have to put it on quite early because I do find reading foreign subtitle things, because I love Scandi noir sorts of stuff, but it's never hugely riveting, exciting. It's not like big car chases and shootouts all every 2 minutes and people running away from fireballs. It's generally quite low key, solemn sort of detective shows, and it generally always looks like always looks like the winter. And the problem is it makes me doze off quite easily, It's like I need to have a can of Red Bull and maybe start watching it about 5 in the evening. Because I think if it starts about 8, 9 o'clock, I'm going to see one episode at best.
Yeah, fair.
So,
fair. And then we reach our last one.
Right.
So, I might have even done this because it was Cornish moose, wasn't it? And I feel like I've said the words Cornish moose.
Yeah, I definitely remember them being said.
Yes, this was he snuck in a second one.
Cheeky monkey.
He said, as for Remain, support for specialist games needs to remain and expand. Epic, Necromunda, Horus Heresy, these are really knocking it out the park. I have my fingers crossed for a BFG revival in the near future.
Oh, Battlefleet Gothic, that'd be nice.
So, yes, I think it would be lovely for the more specialist games to receive more bits and bobs.
Because we're all in it for fun, aren't we? And the more things out there that increase your serotonin, then I'm all for it. Doesn't necessarily mean I want to play them, but I am very happy, even though I'm only a casual observer of the Horus Heresy game. I'm really happy to see that they released a sneak peek of the Solar Auxiliary coming out, and they did on them silhouette sneak peeks the other day of a Sentinel and one of the troopers. So that's cool, and I'm like, good, because even as somebody who just casually looks at it, I am a bit bored of seeing Marine versus Marine.
Yes.
So the idea now that they're gonna start bringing another, and the great thing about them as well, you can still play them as good guys or bad guys. How they what Marine chapter what Marine Legion they are supporting. So so I'm glad that there's more of that coming out, and I think I want all, going back to our original very first question, was it, or near enough, was Old World Fantasy. I want it to do well, because I want there to be maximum amount of enjoyment for people to have things out there. Whether it does or not is another story, but games that are smaller games supported, all for it.
Wonderful.
Continue.
There we go.
And that's it.
I think I've got through all the questions that have been sent to us so far.
Yes, indeed.
If you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching. We have an incredible Patreon community, and we'd be thrilled if you're able to join us. Put no pressure. Right. Lunchtime.
I think it definitely is lunchtime. I'm sure I can hear a chip sandwich calling my name.
Oh, yes. I might even get fish and chips. I'm that hungry.
Oh, wow.
Oh, lovely. Right. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.